Check, check.
Yo.
Check, check.
Checking it out. Check me out.
Check.
Boy.
Chicken and chips.
Check me out, boy. Do you remember that thing that you told me once that you did a school play once or a musical thing? And then at the end, everyone went, boy. And you did boy and no one did boy.
Yeah, I'm impressed. You remember what was an early and formative trauma of mine.
Yeah, I remember everyone's trauma.
It's you and me, boy.
Boy.
Boy. Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that will just stay with me for the rest of my life. Like, it's that embarrassment.
You mean like things like that happened in your life? Or you mean my saying boy will stick with you for the rest of your life?
I think it just like, I related to it so hard because like, it seems like something that I would have done.
Sure.
I have a few of those moments in my life that I'm just like, just stick out of it, just shame.
Yeah.
One was,
shut up! Your happy
that was
birthday
definitely
moment?
one of them. The happy birthday thing. There was another thing where I just moved in years. So I moved to a new school in term 2 of year 6. So I went from one school, moved kind of in an awkward time of year.
Yeah.
And one girl, I had been there for 2 weeks, and one of the girls was like really popular. She was leaving. So all of her friends were like really sad that week. I was trying to make friends. I was trying to impress everyone, but everyone just kind of still thought of me as some like twat. By the way, at this point, I had gel in my hair parted down the middle.
Okay, yep, good.
That was a hairstyle that I rocked for a while.
Yeah.
With spiky bits at the front.
Not alone.
With spiky
either.
bits at the front.
That was the era.
Yeah. And they passed around this, they had gotten her a bear, like a teddy bear thing that said
not
bye.
a real one.
Correct.
We know you're a fan of bears, so we got you a grizzly bear.
And it was to say, I still remember her name. It was to say goodbye to Sophie. And they passed it all around for everyone to sign, this bear, saying goodbye, Sophie. I'd been there for not even 2 weeks. Everyone was writing, goodbye, Sophie. We love you. We're going to miss you. I decided to draw glasses on the bear.
Okay.
Of this bear that one of the girls had spent a lot of money on.
Yeah.
And I like drew in its face and stuff and like ruined the bear. Like it was like a
you
nice,
just gave it
face.
an attitude where it was a presentable sort of meet your parents kind of bear.
It's very nice of you to try and find, the silver lining in this for me, but it wasn't like that.
Okay, sure.
I ruined it. Anyway, everyone just fucking hated me. As soon as I did it, someone went, "Oh, what the fuck have you done? You don't even know her." And then the whole class just turned to me, and I just felt like, ugh. And I carry that with me now.
Oh, yeah. And you've never spoken to Sophie since?
I really haven't.
Yeah. And
no one has.
It's no one knows what happened to her.
I've got one more of these things.
Okay, yeah.
Just while it's on my head.
We called off the farewell. Sophie walked out in silence, and no one spoke to her again.
Again in high school, 2 years later, year 8.
Year 6 isn't high school?
It was.
Really?
That's I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, you go to high school in year 7.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is in high school, but 2 years later, some guy's Mark's dad died suddenly. I didn't really know Mark that well, but I got to school one day and he was another popular guy. Uh-huh. Everyone loved him. I really pick him. And he's crying, he's not there. Everyone's crying about Mark's dad, who suddenly passed away. He was like, involved in the school. They all knew him, blah, blah, blah.
Tell me everyone. Is this parents and teachers as well, or is this just kids?
Just my cohort.
Just your cohort.
Just my year level. And this is just before school, so everyone kind of congregates before school. And I say, what's everyone crying about? And someone goes, Mark's dad died. And then someone had a box of tissues and everyone's like crying. And I said, oh, well, better get in the spirit. And I grabbed a bunch of tissues and started like pretend dabbing my eyes and crying. And everyone was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, When the going's good, let me help myself to all of these tissues. I'm going to use these later.
Well,
is there a limit on how many tissues I can take out of this? There aren't that many tissues at home, so I might... Is that cool if I take 20 tissues? What are you guys going to do later? Do you want to have a tissue party around at my place?
Tissue party? That can't be good.
Yeah, wow. Some of those are new to me. Wow.
Yeah.
And,
do you have any
you still
moments
think
of
about
shame?
them? Well, yeah, there's that one. As in the to recap a story I've told previously, singing out of time, like singing a moment that was meant to be silent in a choral rehearsal, but me singing like the actual pop song version of "You Got a Friend in Me," where as a choir we decided not to add the "just you and me, boy" of that kind of swing vibe, and yet I really like the song, and so I was listening to it a lot and practicing and getting in the vibe and always singing the boy, and then in the choral performance we got to the point and everyone else, it's you and me, and then there's just little old Nick that goes, boy. Just a one word solo, just placed gently into the middle of that performance.
Can I just ask, why didn't they want to end with the boy?
Because
it seems like a great closer.
It's not.
Or did they overuse
it? Chorally enough. It's it's a choral adaptation, so you gotta maintain some formality, I think.
Well, I like your version way better.
Thank you. Yeah, and I was upset, and I did know what I'd done wrong. And I did see the choral master smile at me and keep going. And we all had a talk about it afterwards, and I felt quite bad about it. And still do.
You have to discuss it.
And still do.
But how'd they bring it up? Were they like, are we going to talk about
No, I think I went up almost in tears and apologized. And my parents were there, and the choir master was there, and I was like, oh.
So you just cried?
Yeah, I think probably some tears were shed.
Okay.
Yeah. Trying to think of other shame moments.
Apart from your sexuality.
Yeah, other than that sort of deep-rooted stuff. Yeah. Oh, did I tell you the thing of the time Merrick and Russo pranked me?
No.
Do you remember Merrick and Russo? So they're a mid-90s, early thousands like radio duo who were big, I think, on Nova at the time, and they were kind of like in the early days of podcasting. They were primordial podcasters back in like 2004, 2005, where all that radio stations were really doing then. This is like peak iPod period. Apple's launching the podcast store. People are trying to just work out what this thing is. Like, oh, it'll just like download audio to your iTunes. Oh, that's interesting. And so radio stations were just beginning to experiment with the idea of like, oh, our shows, we could put our shows out for people who aren't listening in their cars or like in the work or stuff. And starting to do original was the next like a logical leap beyond that. So Merrick and Russo did breakfast or afternoon or something like that, and they had regular. And then they had what they called pirate material, which was their original content that was just basically an online exclusive podcast stuff. And it was mailbag style listener kind of things, and then jokes and prank calls and stuff. And I was a fan. I was interested in the tech of it. I liked them as a comedic duo. And so I wrote in. I don't think you could even like ask a question. You just sent in like your phone number or an email or something, and they'd give you a call when they were recording and like have a chat to you. So I'd sent in my phone number, and completely separately, completely incidentally, in this era, like 2005, my phone answering machine bank, like, back in the day where you'd have a phone message when someone would call you and you didn't pick up, was one of these. Oh, hey.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
No, just kidding. Leave a message after the beep, right? That was completely coincidental, right? That was the era, great joke. Everyone loves it. Oh, hey. oh, hey, would you mind popping up some? Nah, just kidding. Just the bane of my parents' existence.
My dad literally didn't talk to me for like a month.
The unfortunate coincidence of me emailing American Russo, giving my phone number so I could have a chat on their podcast, and my phone message being the, oh, hey, it was kind of a perfect nuclear fusion, right? So I was at school and I was a good kid. So I left my phone in the locker. I didn't take it to the classroom, and missed the call when they called me. So they called.
You're in year 12.
Year 11? Year 10 or 11? Yeah.
Okay.
It's like 2005. It's the year before I graduated, I think. Maybe 2006. Either way, doesn't matter. It was high school. So they call and they get the, oh, hi. And they launch into the, hey, it's American Rosso here. We're just following up on your emails. Thanks for getting in touch. Nah, just kidding. Leave a message after the... And they go, one, that's very funny. But two, you're not allowed to be funnier than us in our own show. They leave this kind of abusive message on...
so this is live on the radio that they
This
read
is not
out your
live.
email?
This is Pirate. So this is their pre-recorded podcast, right?
Sorry, not read out your email. Yeah.
So they leave. I get back to my locker and I look at all these, like, there's an unknown number calling and a missed message and then like a voice box. And I'm like, what is this? And I listen to the voicemail and it's just like, oh, you fucking, oh, that's funny though. That was good. You got us, blah, blah, blah. Like a nice little thing.
Is
Like,
it them?
oh my God, this is American Russell. They called my number. Oh my God, I missed it. Oh, but wow, how cool.
It's them and not like an assistant or something.
It's them. They called me while recording the show.
Yeah.
And I think now that I think about it, I'd sent an email to them saying that our school principal had run away. That was like a little bit of like school scandal at the time. Halfway through a year, the school principal had basically just disappeared with his family and just like run off to India or something like that. So I'd sent through this story because it was like an interesting story and they were calling to talk about it, right? So that was the back context of it. So then I get this voicemail message and I was like, oh my God, they missed it. How annoying. But oh, wow, they called me. But how exciting. But oh. And then there was this like painful sort of 4-hour wait where I was like waiting to hear the Pirate podcast go up so I could hear the whole thing as it happened, right? I want to know what actually happened because all I have is one answering machine message, right? What do they do? What did they say before it? What happened? So I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And then this podcast comes up. And... so they're like, oh, we got an email here from Nick. He says his principal's run away. And like, that sounds interesting. Let's give him a call. So they call up the thing, start to talk. Nah, just kidding. Oh, you fucking, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And so they say, oh, that's very funny. Good kid. Like, good on you. And then they're like, well, he's not allowed to be funnier than us on the podcast. And this is in retrospect where it starts to become a little bit problematic. But... Okay. So they decided, okay, we'll prank the school and we'll say that we've got Nick's bag. So they called up the actual reception and said, and they put on this real camp, flamboyant voice like, we've got Nick Shadle's bag here, who he's actually left it at the Young Christian Homosexuals Club. So if he could come and pick up the bag, just let him know that it's at the Young Christian Homosexuals Club. This real like camp, like,
oh my God,
lispy thing.
So this is like years before you came out.
This is years before I came out, right? And so the sweet receptionist at the desk says, okay, I'll just take a note of that. But to her absolute credit, she's in retrospect, a huge champion. She takes it, she plays along, she writes it down. I never heard from her. She never passed on the message. She clearly smelled a rat. Either some kids in school were bullying or this was a pranky thing. Never pass it on. I never heard from her. I never got a message, your bag is at the Young Christian Homosexuals Club. But in retrospect, problematic prank.
So you heard this.
So I then listened to this podcast and I heard it back. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I was like in the closet, right? And I had this moment of panic, like,
oh my God,
how do I deal with this, right? What is the way to ride this off? And the answer was to tell everybody that it happened. Because the only thing that a straight person would do would laugh at it and tell everyone. So I grabbed the file and I clipped it up, and there was a couple of other people at school that also listened to it and put it on like the file sharing thing at school. And then everyone was listening to it and enjoying and the laughter because I got them and it was funny. And then they called up the school and it was funny, right? And then I got dragged into the vice principal's office because the reason they had called me was I had said the principal had run away and the school didn't really like that narrative being out there. Now, the school was never named, so they never said it or identified it. But I had a bit of a talking to, which was very uncharacteristic for me to be dragged into the vice principal's office, saying now, Nick, we all know it's a bit of fun here, but, this is not something that should continue. And we don't like the idea of our school being, slandered in this way or whatever. So I assume this will be the end of it. And I was like, yes, they don't say the name of the school. And, it wasn't really about that in the end. So sorry. And he was like, all right, and sent me on my way. But yeah, for a few days there, interesting in terms of personal life and dynamics. Also, a mildly popular little stunt in the school for a couple of days, and then a virally sort of audio clip that went around as well because everyone was laughing at the fact that the principal ran away.
That is, I can't believe I haven't heard that story before. That's a cracker, and great. I like your logic with the what would a straight guy do? I mean, I don't know if I would. Yes, I would. Like, if it was like Merrick and Rosso, because they were cool. They were the cool guys. They were cool.
Yeah, they were.
At the time, especially at that age.
Yeah.
So to have any interaction with them, it's like
they were the edgier of like the radio duos. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you'd get more offended by being called Christian.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and they would, probably look back and think, not knowing anything about a kid in high school, is this the right tack to play? But, different era.
That's why we love the early 2000s.
That's why we love the thousands, before anyone had learned anything. Oh, welcome to Deep Thought, everyone. Hey, nice to be back. Nice to see you. You're looking well. It's winter. I like that sweater on you. It's nice. This is a podcast. That wasn't directed at you, Michael. This was to the listener. That sweater's a little bit unflattering. Sitting through the internet with me, my friend Michael. How are we doing?
We're doing so well. Love that story. Nice to see you, Nick. Hello, Deep Thought listeners.
And I'm Nick. How we doing? Hey, hi, cool.
Coming out the gate with 2 stories. Feeling jazzy, man. I'm drinking a lovely bourbon.
Yeah, you're going into the spirits today. I just got a beer beverage.
Emma bought a bottle of my favorite bourbon. Not for me, just for the house.
House burbs.
And it's a Woodford Reserve bourbon. Delicious. So I've having this as a kind of a pre-dinner
aperitif.
I believe that's post-dinner.
Oh.
Speaking of dinner, though,
can I ask a question? Just while we're
sure.
Just man to man. While we're on the topic.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a whiskey and a bourbon?
All I know is that a bourbon is like more round in taste and in texture. It's got maybe a little bit sweeter, whereas whiskey is bourbon. So whiskey is Scotch whiskey and bourbon. Also bourbon. I think all bourbon is whiskey.
And
all Scotch is whiskey.
Yeah, all Scotch is whiskey. I get that part.
And all bourbon is whiskey.
All bourbon is whiskey?
This is a whiskey bourbon.
Okay. You can have a whiskey bourbon. That's both.
It's not both. It's just like the umbrella. It's like whiskey is the umbrella category of bourbon. There's whiskey.
Okay, draw me a diagram.
Scotch, whiskey in this umbrella.
Whiskey's at the top. Umbrella. Whiskey covers everything.
And then under that umbrella, Scotch, bourbon, and I don't know.
Rye? What's rye? Rye can be a type of whiskey?
Rye whiskey. Nice one.
Okay.
So
whiskeys include bourbon. And you're drinking a bourbon?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I might not have that correct. That just feels right.
Yeah, well, you did work in a bar, so I feel like your knowledge would be slightly higher than mine in that respect.
You'd think that, but
The bar I'm referring to is the Wallace Cinemas Boulevard Lounge.
Thanks. By the way, who turned 14 the other day?
That is so crazy to me.
We were at the first...
Cannot deal with how much time ago that is.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah, I know. I mean,
that means we've known each other for 14 years.
I know. Like, did you work the first shift?
Not the very first.
Ever?
No, not the very first.
Did you go to that Ocean's 13 preview? Because that was the first time I saw a movie there. Do you remember the Ocean's 13 preview?
Now you're testing me. I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah. There was a 2-week period at the start where I wasn't there for some reason. I can't remember if it was I was in the middle of exam period and it was starting after that or something like that, or I'd traveled, but I wasn't there for like 2 weeks till after it had opened.
Yeah.
I'd got the job before, but I didn't start straight away.
It just occurred to me that 14 years is almost half of our lives.
Yeah, I worked that out the other day as well. What are we now? 32. It's 14. So it's got to be what, another 6 years? 5 years?
Yeah. Fuck.
37.
It just seems like too much.
14, it's 19. Yeah, 5 years.
Because do you know what you can do in 14 years?
You can go to a chicken.
School, go finish high school from reception.
Yeah.
That's what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, you can.
Fuck.
Yeah. You could buy, raise, love a family pet and have to say goodbye to it.
Exactly. Like a dog who's lived a good life.
A dog with a great life. Yeah. Oh. And soon we'll be putting this relationship to bed.
Excuse me?
This is the last ever deep thought. Wouldn't that be so creepy if it was the case?
Creepy if you just dropped that on me.
Yeah. No, if it came true. If like suddenly you died in like a yachting accident or something. And we're like, wow, Nick got that vibe.
I think about this quite a lot. Like I think about whether like if you would do like an epilogue episode or if you'd get a new me.
I wouldn't get a new
Good
you.
luck.
Would you like an epilogue episode? I think that would be nice. A tribute.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it probably could be our highest rated show.
It's possible. I mean, I'd reuse some old like tunes and stuff. I wouldn't make like fresh. It's a bit of like it's a waste of time to sort of invest energy into it. But like there'd be old sort of jingles I could repurpose and some of the sort of scraps from like the default GarageBand loops, that sort of thing, just to give it a little bit of jazz.
Yeah.
But you don't want to sink so much time into something like that when it's like, what are you going to get from it?
It's not
pleasure.
Worth it. But this is the other thing I think about. If you died tragically, the news would go to your Facebook profile and select a photo, because that's what they do whenever someone dies tragically. They get their photos from Facebook.
Yeah.
So what photo is on your Facebook that would be like the photo that gets on the news?
Yeah.
Because you got you got trampled by a camel.
The camel tramp. Yeah. I mean, it is possible on Facebook to make it not searchable, or to have a like a privacy setting turned on so that they can't get into the page and all they get is your profile. So you could sort of control it. There was an interesting one today, actually, in the Apple software update news that they did like a keynote today announcing what was coming. And one of the features that they turned on, and which a few of these services now have, like digital legacy sort of fallbacks. So I don't know if you know this about Facebook, but you can set up who can access your profile and take ownership of it if you die. So it can be turned into a memorial page and like archived so that it sort of stays as it was, and it becomes like a a digital headstone. And similarly with things in the Apple universe, you will soon be able to set up a trusted person in your contacts who, if you die, you can go through the process and provide a death certificate and that sort of stuff, and then gain access to all of the data on their phone and all the photos and that sort of stuff. They'll actually migrate that over to you, which is one of those things now that we're entering that digital era of so much precious stuff being only stored on the cloud or only locked away by biometrics, that you want to have a fallback to get, right?
Think about how much prime real estate and space headstones take up. Like it's kind of silly. Like people need to have that space where they go to, but does it necessarily need to be a physical space? Because it's going to get to a point where we can't actually, bury everyone. I mean,
and most people are getting cremated these days anyway. So what you're looking at is not anything, right? It might just be a plot.
And you think about, I know the cemetery in Melbourne, the main cemetery it's smack bang in the real estate must be worth millions and millions of dollars. It's like in the perfect location. Like it seems like, I don't want to say a waste, but it almost seems a bit silly that we use up so much space for something that is gone and is only a situation that is going to pile up and get worse.
Well, and the thing is, you like, a plot is yours forever, right? Like when they sell you a cemetery plot, it's not like, okay, and then 30 years from now we'll, roll you over and put another one on top. Like you're getting that land forever. So unless it's like a double-decker bus sort of situation where we just slide another one on top and keep pushing down, or like there's not that many alternatives when it comes to space saving.
When was the last time you went to a cemetery?
Went to, as in like wandered through.
I wandered through. Yeah,
there's a couple around my area that I just sort of navigate or pass because it's on my walking route or because I run past it. So like, there's one literally just at the end of the road that I see every day, but it's not like
inside.
Well, I've crossed through to get to the other side, but it's not like. Yeah, it's not a huge one. It's just in front of a church.
Have you ever felt like when you've done that, when you're going, ooh, like I'm in a space where there's lots of dead bodies?
I shivered down my spine and I was like, ooh, that's a grandma. What about you? Do you go often?
I used to go and smoke marijuana down
at the cemetery
near where your school used to be.
Yeah,
not used to be. Near where your school that you went to is, but you were no longer attending it. Is that clear?
We got it on the third take.
But apart from that, I haven't been. My cousin and my grandfather, my dad's dad, are the people that have died, and they're the only people that really have died.
Yeah.
So whenever we were kids, and we would drive past each one of those cemeteries in Adelaide, we drive past Patrick's cemetery. We would all as a family go, "Hi, Patrick," or "Hi, Jedor."
That's cute.
But I can't remember the last time I was in a cemetery.
Yeah.
But you're writing screenplays about cemeteries now.
Well, I don't think we've actually written
homes.
anything in a cemetery yet. But yeah, funeral homes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you're the expert.
This is going to be such a transition, but how's your lockdown going?
Yeah.
There was a walk there which I didn't take. I just decided to go for a hard break.
Just do like a glisten and then just be like hard break, or something like that.
Nice. Like,
I mean, I'm just making work for you.
Yeah,
but I can just say it because I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lucky D 4.0. Look, it came as a bit of a surprise. So it's been alright. Just working from home. We can't leave the house without a mask or with one of the 5 reasons for leaving the house. It just feels like...
What are the 5 reasons?
Shopping, exercising for 2 hours, getting a COVID test and then something else. Who knows? Seeing a intimate partner.
Right.
So yeah, it looks like they're going to probably announce tomorrow if we're going to get out. But it just was so because we were like 70 days without COVID.
Yeah.
And then like last or 2 weeks ago, we start hearing things of there's like someone who's come back from overseas who's got this new Indian strain. And you're like, you just see it on the news and you're like, okay, all right, well that's there. And then the next day they're like, oh, it's bad. And then the day after that they're like, we're locking down tomorrow. And it's like, God, it just happens so quickly.
But
and
that's a good sign. If I can jump in right there. Yeah. That's the good sign. Because that was the mistake they made last time, where dawdling just, like, it's an exponential growth thing, right? Like, the faster, the earlier, the easier. And that was how New Zealand managed to get it early. And the 5 weeks was quite a long, hard lockdown. But it was early enough to break it. And the fact that it was surprising and shocking, and fuck, do I need 3 gallons of lard and a couple of gallons of toilet paper? I don't know why I say I said gallons and I was like, you don't buy toilet paper in gallons. What else comes in gallons? Lard. And then something else. What does toilet paper came in? Gallons. I still ended up back at gallons a second time. I walked into it twice.
Isn't gallons an American thing anyway? You don't buy anything
and it's
in gallons.
Liquids. I don't know what was going
on.
Oil. Anyway. Yeah, so my point being, the fact that it was surprising and oh shit, we're locking down. That's good. That's a good sign.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely what they're trying to avoid this time around. Were you in lockdown for 5 weeks? Wait, you couldn't. What did that mean when you were in that hard lockdown?
Everything, even harder than what you're doing.
For 5 weeks.
Yeah. So exercise was limited to walking for like an hour and a half or something like that around your vicinity. All restaurants and all shops and everything was shut other than supermarkets and pharmacies and like doctors' clinics. So no takeaway. Everyone was making things at home, cooking themselves. So that was the hard one, where it's like you can't get anything from anyone else other than the supermarket. So you just have to make it all at home.
That would have killed me.
Yeah. Yeah, so I am still grateful for you that you can get takeaways. I just hope that it's not a vector for it continuing to spread.
Yeah, and it looks like it's under control. We'll be in lockdown for 2 weeks by the time we can come out of it, hopefully on Friday. But here's the thing. This is something I've been like just wondering about, and I can't find a good answer. So maybe you can give me one. Okay, so I understand that we need to bring people who are overseas, Australian citizens who are overseas currently and want to get back home. They need to be able to come home. But the reason why there's any COVID in Australia now is because people are coming from overseas. So my question is, obviously, having getting rid of hotel quarantine and having dedicated quarantine facilities is the obvious solution here, but that's still gonna take 6 months to a year. My question is, why, if we're only getting COVID from people bringing it overseas, does their need to be able to come back home outweigh the threat and the cost to people who live in Australia? And by cost, I mean the cost of lockdowns for businesses and whatever else.
It's actually a false dichotomy, because the solution and the problem are hinging on a broader issue, which is the failures of the federal government. You actually said it yourself. There should have been like quarantine facilities established. The big fucking question is, even if it takes 6 months, which to me actually seems quite a lot of time, like that's quite a long amount of time to set something up. But let's say charitably it takes 6 months, which seems improbable. If the army and everything is, operating these kind of spaces around the world all the time, you wouldn't think that it was beyond the means of the Australian government to set this stuff up. If that was the case and it needed 6 months, then it should have been the case that by September last year, the federal government had established a federal protocol for returning citizens with a proper quarantine system and alleviated the need for retrofitting, unsuitable hotel quarantine places to deal with these returning citizens who have a legal right to re-entry. And if you think about being stuck in India, where it's raging out of control, or Japan, where it's growing and growing, or Brazil, where it's just completely consuming hundreds of thousands of people, then you're not sick, then all you want to fucking do is get home, right? Just get me out of here. And if your home country says you can't come here, then that is basically an uprooting of any definition of citizenship or national statehood that we understand. So the failure is actually...
We did it already under the Biosecurity Act, so you can do it.
You can do it, but it just means, like, what are the consequences here, and legally what options do these people then have left, right? What are you leaving to? If they're not a citizen of the country that they're stuck in, can they get healthcare? Or are you sentencing them to die if they get COVID, you know? Like,
yeah.
So the failure is actually, it is a question that is understandable to ask. Why are we bringing these people back if it throws Melbourne into lockdown? But really, it's only a failure, and it's only throwing Melbourne into lockdown because the federal government has fucked it. They just fucked it. They sat on their thumbs for a year and a half, and they still haven't set up anything approaching the needs of a pandemic. And in the same way that they turned down Pfizer's offer for vaccines last year because they wanted to haggle on price. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing? What do you think they're going to just knock off a few cents for you? Like, these are federal government fuck-ups. And the question and the situation that we're in now is disastrous, and it's unfortunate that for some reason Melbourne keeps hitting the brunt of it. But it shouldn't be one that you have to choose between a citizen and their rights to be home and the safety and security of the country. It's the job of the government to ensure that can both coexist.
I totally agree with all of that. But here's a couple of counter questions, which is, things that would naturally come to mind from that. One, we knew that coronavirus has been happening for a long time. Well, for 15, 16 months now. People were overseas. Why didn't they get back sooner?
I mean, I don't have a generic answer. Everyone's situation is different. Some people might have families over there. They might have young kids, and they'd been living in a place that was okay, and then it only worsened 3 months ago, right? Like, India was kind of okay for a while there, and maybe the risk calculus is such that it's like, okay, well, if the consequence is I have to rip my 6-year-old daughter away from all her friends, all of her schooling, all of her education system, to a country with a language she doesn't speak, and all this kind of thing, then the weighing up you're doing is, well, maybe we ride it out a little bit until such threshold you hit where it's no longer tenable to stay there. But as to why these people, I'm sure some of them are idiots. I'm sure some people went traveling and thought they could get around it. I'm sure, people made bad decisions, and I'm sure just as many people had valid, logical thought processes that saw them stay there as long as they could.
Yeah, I guess so. I am very sympathetic to the idea that if you're a person who is if you think of Australia as home, the idea that you're not allowed to come back does feel like a quite profound. It doesn't sit well at all.
Yeah, you're stateless. Where's your home? Yeah,
you're Tom Hanks in the terminal.
Exactly. And I mean, normally you want to be Tom Hanks, but not in this time. The other thing, of course, is some people might have really been sincerely trying to get home all of this time and just couldn't, either because the plane routes weren't there, or the cost of the tickets necessary was beyond their means, and they didn't have the $7,000 it took to catch the 4 ridiculous connections that it might need, and then the hotel quarantine costs when you get in, and where are you going to stay when you arrive. Like, it might just actually not be financially viable until it's like, I'm going to get sick and I have no better choice than to go home, I don't think a lot of these people are making the choices lightly.
No, I don't think they are. But they are yeah. You do have those like immediate kind of knee-jerk questions
Yeah.
that the media doesn't really give you a clear explanation for. It just kind of felt like assumed knowledge. Like I didn't know why until last week when I kind of properly went into it, that the reason why we are still letting people into Australia is because it's a kind of a legal thing or a human rights thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think our friend Eddie did a good short column on that a few weeks ago as well that maybe I can throw into the links if people want to read it, about the stateless and repatriation things.
Yeah, no, he doesn't listen to this, Nick. He's too smart for this. So you don't shout out anyone who doesn't listen to it.
And that's the last time we'll be crediting Albert Einstein, who refuses to respond to my emails.
Speaking of responding to your emails.
Oh, I just set you up for a segue.
A brief one. This just made me laugh. So, do you have some dumplings the other day, did you?
Did I have some dumplings the other day? Yeah, I did.
Yeah, were they not to your liking?
No, they weren't.
Right.
Oh, what? Oh, I see where this is going.
I got a notification today, as you know, listeners. I now have access to our email account. And I got a notification before saying, Google thanks you for your review. And I was like, I didn't make any review. Look into it. Nick has left a scathing review on a Shanghai, let's give him a shout out, Shanghai Street Dumplings in Christchurch somewhere. Giving him 2 stars. I'm just going to read out Nick's review here because it really made me laugh. So Nick's done this, by the way. Nick's done this.
I was having a bad day.
He's obviously used our Deep Fort Gmail account, either forgotten or didn't want to put his name to it, so he's done it under an alias and incriminated me along the way. But whatever.
I would like to think of it as a cross promotion, so that any interested people who are like, I like the cut of this guy's jib, he really knows his dumplings, maybe I'd listen to that podcast.
Yeah, except there's going to be Shanghai Street Dumplings. He's going to see this, going to think, who the fuck is Deep Fort? Click on us, and then have a have you seen this podcast on the front of their shop?
That's marketing. You were giving me stuff last week like, oh, what are you doing? I'm selling out ad spots for $1 every 30 cents. You're not doing anything. Here we are a week later, and I'm getting our name out there, so you're welcome.
Okay. It's guerrilla tactics here.
Guerrilla taxes.
Guerrilla taxes. Good name for a band.
Good name.
Right, here's Nick's email because we all want to hear what this Nick complaining about his dumplings was. I'm going to do it in the voice that I imagine that you were writing it in. Okay?
Yeah.
Menu on no greeting, no hello. Menu online was cheaper than the price charged in store. When pointed out, the server refused to acknowledge the false advertising, then didn't give a receipt or buzzer or number, and so I watched as my food was handed to another couple. Finally, they brought over someone else's dumplings, and I was too sick of the 25-minute wait to argue any further. I'd also watched them give away a different customer's food to the wrong people and made him wait another 15 minutes for them to cook more, so it seems this happens frequently. Not worth it! Nice one, dude.
Yeah. Look, I'm
never
not proud of it.
I've never given a review of any food ever.
I'm not proud of it, but I do stand by
it. You must have been really pissed off.
I'd
get out your phone and type away.
Can I tell you the true story? I tried to do it while I was waiting for my dumplings, but my phone wasn't letting me do it, so I actually did it when I got home. I was very disappointed. The website advertised the price, and they came in and they charged me more, and I said, that's not the price. And they said, well, it is the price. And I said, well, your website says otherwise. And they said, well, in our system we've changed it, so it'll be this. And I said, that's false advertising. And they said, okay. And I said, Okay, I'll have the dumplings.
Oh my god.
No self-respect.
Oh my god. Pathetic.
Yeah.
Were the dumplings any good?
Nah. They weren't the dumplings I wanted. They gave me the wrong dumplings.
What'd you order and what'd you get?
I ordered, I think it was chicken coriander or pork coriander, and they came out and it was chicken and chive or pork or chive or whatever. Like they're very garlic chives instead of coriander. It was a very different flavor of dumpling.
Okay. I wouldn't have noticed the difference there.
Well, you're not a bit of an aficionado.
Yeah, dumpling.
Yeah.
Sommelier.
Look, I'd actually, that was my second dinner of the night because I'd gone to get chicken rice from an Asian store and they'd sold out, so I had to have something else, and I was not quite as full, and so I wanted something to top me up, and then I went and got dumplings, and those dumplings were wrong as well. It was a bit of a disaster, and I was not in a good mood. So the second indignity stung, and I needed to let them know that I would not be returning to their services, and their website lists them as 4 stars, and I thought that's inappropriate because all that I've witnessed here tonight suggests that is too high.
4 stars on Google or 4 stars on the website?
Google.
4 stars on Google means nothing. You want a 4.5 or get out of here.
Yeah, and now I haven't actually checked, but there's definitely a 2, so hopefully that's pushed them into the 3 territory.
Now, did you not want to put your name to it and signed in as Deep Fort and use Deep Fort as a shield, as a scapegoat for your nitpickiness? Or did you, just accidentally,
I like to think of it as marketing.
Okay,
as
so you did it on purpose.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and you just thought I'd never find out.
Well, I literally didn't even join the dots that it would email to confirm there'd been a review.
No, it just said thanks for your review.
Yeah,
look, I'm all for this.
Yeah,
I'm all for this.
I didn't even realize it was going to be visible, as you can tell from my raucous laughter at the start of this segment.
Yes. Well, when I read that, I also raucously laughed. So it brought me some joy, even though your dumplings sucked.
Yeah.
So thank you.
So in the end, it was all worth it.
All worth it, baby.
Hey, how about some... No, I don't like it. Would you like some George Clooney news?
Mm-hmm. And
George...
a 1.
Oh, okay.
No, I was counting in too slow.
Yeah, okay. And a 1. And... No, I went slower. I went the other way.
1, 2, 3, 4. George.
No, I'd see that. Hold on. If we can interrupt there, you counted in 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then we started at a George and immediately knew what tempo it had to be, and it wasn't the tempo that you'd let in.
I know.
So
let's just put each other on mute for 1 second and then just sing it, and then
that's going to be a nightmare for me to edit. So I would prefer if we just sang it at the same time. But I just don't think we need a count. I just think we can just go.
We could just do it. Yeah.
Just stare into my eyes.
Nirvana or something.
Stare into my eyes, and we'll zen it out. Okay, you ready?
All right.
George Clooney. George Clooney news. Watch out for that tree. No. Yeah. Okay. I don't think it worked as well.
On my end, it was good.
Okay.
On my end, it was good.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. It's been a while. Our old friend Jake Lou, he's always got things going on in his life. He's a devil if it comes to events and news and stories. Did you see this one in which he recounted his interactions with the film director David O. Russell? Ooh. On the film Three Kings.
Three Kings. This is speaking my language here, Nick.
Okay, tell me about Three Kings.
Well, David O. Russell, famously a very antagonistic director. He had that spat with Lily Tomlin on I Heart Huckabees that got filmed. It was like the first, one of those first viral moments, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Years and years and years ago.
When he's yelling at Lily Tomlin.
Yeah.
Look it up on YouTube. It's excellent. He's had, what else did he direct? Silver Linings Playbook,
American Hustle.
Hustler, American Hustle. So he's on Three Kings. I don't know. I've looked at that Wikipedia page quite a bit. But
what year are we talking here? Is this like 2009 or what?
No, we're talking like 90.
Oh, early.
99 would be my guess.
Sure. Okay.
Wouldn't mind looking that up
Sure.
now. But yeah, I remember George Clooney and him had a massive tiff, and I believe George Clooney has since refused to work with him again.
Yeah, well, let me put you in the mind of George Clooney himself as he discusses...
99. Nailed it.
Discusses the film Three Kings, directed by David O. Russell. I will simply read this to you. This is from a Playboy interview in which all of the best information comes. Quote, "It was truly, without exception, the worst experience of my life."
Whoa.
So, Playboy asked, did he, David O. Russell, yell at you? Clooney says, "At me often and at someone daily. He'd throw off his headset and scream, 'Today the sound department fucked me.' For me, it came to a head a couple of times. Once he went after a camera car driver who I knew from high school. I had nothing to do with his getting his job, but David began yelling and screaming at him and embarrassing him in front of everybody. I told him, you can yell and scream and even fire him, but what you can't do is humiliate him in front of people. Not on my set if I have anything to say about it. Good on you, J. Clue. Another time, he screamed at the script supervisor and made her cry. I wrote him a letter and said, look, I don't know why you do this. You've written a brilliant script and I think you're a good director. Let's not have a set like this. I don't like it and I don't work well like this. I'm not one of those actors who likes things in disarray. He read the letter and we started all over again. But later, we were 3 weeks behind schedule, which puts some pressure on you, and he was in a bad mood. These army kids who were working as extras were supposed to tackle us. There were 3 helicopters in the air and 300 extras on the set. It was a tense time and a little dangerous too. David wanted one of the extras to grab me and throw me down. This kid was a little nervous about it, and David walked up to him and grabbed him. He pushed him onto the ground. He kicked him and screamed, "Do you want to be in this fucking movie? Then throw him to the fucking ground." The second AD came up and said, "You don't do that, David. You want them to do something, you tell me." David grabbed his walkie-talkie and threw it on the ground. He screamed, "Shut the fuck up, fuck you." And the AD goes, "Fuck you, I quit." He walked off. It was a dangerous time. I'd sent him this letter. I was trying to make things work, so I went over and I put my arm around him. I said, "David, it's a big day, but you can't shove, push, or humiliate people who aren't allowed to defend themselves." He turned on me and said, "Why don't you just worry about your fucked up act?" This is telling J. Clue that
What the fuck?
Yeah. "You're being a dick. You want to hit me? You want to hit me? Come on, pussy, hit me." George Clooney's looking at him like he's out of his mind. Then he started banging me on the head with his head. He goes, "Hit me, you pussy, hit me." Then he got me by the throat and I went nuts. Waldo, my buddy, one of the boys, grabbed me by the waist to get me to let go of him. I had him by the throat. I was going to kill him. Kill him. Finally, he apologized, but I walked away. By then, the Warner Brothers guys were freaking out. David sort of pouted through the rest of the shoot, and we finished the movie, but it was truly, without exception, the worst experience of my life.
Shit. God almighty.
Yeah.
That's,
I don't have
love
much
these
to add to
stories.
that, but it's just like fascinating as an insight because David O. Russell, as we know, is famously anger prone, shall we say. And to hear it from a guy just talking openly about it at the caliber of like a George Clooney is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I gotta say, David O. Russell sounds like a true artist. But I love these stories that show like George Clooney, like as if they could, you already think they're like, you know, him and Brad Pitt and Matt Damon, they're playing pranks on each other. They're like politically active. They're saving kids. You know, they're handsome. They're rich. And they're also like really great guys. Like you hear these stories about Brad Pitt telling Harvey Weinstein to fuck off when he's, you know, when he was with Gwyneth Paltrow and stuff. And it was like, is this for real? Are you guys like really like that? Just perfect.
Do you have that integrity? Yeah. It's
but I love
it's nice. Yeah.
I want them to be the people that.
I agree. Yeah.
They're like the rock stars. Like I want, you know, you kind of live vicariously through them.
Yeah. No, I just thought it was actually a nice testament to his character as well. Like you see him standing up for like normal people on the set as well. But yeah, David O. Russell does not seem like a nice guy. And to be fair, what has he made recently? Does it feel like Hollywood's kind of iced him a little bit?
I don't think so. But you got, if you've got those stories coming out from, Hollywood A-listers, you got to think that he's done some horrific shit to an intern or an extra that
just never made the
will
news or
reveal
it.
In the current era. He's done nothing. He did Joy, which is good, but still it's 2015.
Is that the Kate Blanchett one?
No, Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, Jennifer Lawrence, that's right.
But yeah, actually, you're right. That's the last movie he's directed.
Yeah, that's 6 years ago.
He's got one on the works at the moment, starring Christian Bale, untitled David O. Russell project. Christian Bale and Margot Robbie, and Rami Malek, and Robert De Niro, and Mark Myers, and Timothy Olyphant, and Michael Shannon, and Chris Rock, and Anya Taylor-Joy, and Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift.
That's a cast.
That is a massive cast.
All those
premise.
People being like, it can't be as bad as it sounds.
Well, he is a good director. This is the premise, according to Wikipedia, for the untitled David O. Russell project. A doctor and a lawyer form an unlikely partnership.
Oh.
I love that. I like to think that was
say?
Just his. I've got an idea for a movie, guys, and that's his premise. That's what he goes around and pitches.
Yeah.
Doctor and a lawyer. Get this. Doctor and a lawyer become friends, and you don't expect it.
You're gonna fucking pay me the money I fucking need. We're gonna make this film, or else you can get fucked. Yes, David. Yes, Dave.
Yes, David.
If there's been in moments of enjoyment scattered throughout this audio podcast today, then I would love for you to taste test some of our other episodes back in the feed. You can find the entire archive at deepfort.podbean.com, and you can find us on all forms of social media for other versions of interactivity. There's the Facebook, of course, but there's also Instagram for stories and photos. There's SoundCloud for our jingles. There's Twitter if you want a notification of something's going up, or a notification, whatever scratches that itch for you. You can send us a question to deepfort@gmail.com, or pay for an ad spot for some small amount of money. No takers this week, Michael?
No,
sort of petered out
this week.
Yeah, no hits. Oh well. And of course, if you're in your podcast app of choice, we recommend Overcast. But if you're in and about the internet spaces, please be sure to rate us 5 stars so that we can continue to do what we do. Make each other I don't know. I was about to say make each other laugh, and I felt too sick about it that I didn't want to.
Why did you feel too sick about that?
It felt too cheesy. It felt gross.
Well, you got to leave all this in now.
Fuck.
Just tying this all in a bow. This is the I just sent you the picture of what the news will use when when you die in a tragedy in Facebook. This is, I just searched through your photo, just scanned through your photo while you're telling whatever story you were telling. That's what it'll be on the news when you die.
They won't get that. That's not accessible. That's not accessible to the public.
Well, I'll give it to them.
Okay. Well, in that case, that's quite a nice photo, and I'm okay with it.
Well, okay, it's not about what they can access. It's like, what kind of photos would they use? I mean, you've got a lot on here that they would never use.
Isn't that good though?
Never. I guess. I mean, but what if they were like?
Why do we want the news to have a picture of me anyway?
What if they were really short that day and they really wanted to? Oh, this is not sending as quickly as I thought. Yes, it is. And they used that one there that I just sent you.
I don't know how I'm going to do this on the podcast. You're kind of forcing me to put these photos into the podcast, which is a cruel trick.
Yeah. I'll just show you a couple more.
That's the last one. That's the last one, because I have to do different chapters for all of them if you want this to work. So you've got that one. I'll put that one in.
Okay.
This was from a role for the this was in my very limited acting roles during the production of our TV show. when I was a hipster.
I think you look,
And I think it suits me.
You're not a hipster in that photo at all. You're like some like weird, like what's the word?
It was like a hippie type. It was like a slovenly crash on your couch kind of.
I know what it
hippie.
is. It's called a Wookiee.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Ready for some weird news?
Oh,
close up the app.
Wait. Yes.
Nice. All right, play it.
In the news today from the Strange and Weird Fact File.
Well, for decades, only crackpots and crazy people believed in UFOs.
Deputies
That's what I
say
thought,
the
anyway.
suspect told them he's been performing sex acts on animals since the 1970s.
I told about my close encounter with the Yeti. Totally true.
A sticky situation at an airport in Tennessee after baggage was sprayed with rust.
Turns out the governments had been taking them seriously all along.
This is Deep Thought Weird News with Michael Zuberef Sludge.
All right,
And we're back.
Weird news.
Yeah, we're back.
Coming right up. All right, so found a bit of weird news the other day. Have you heard about this euthanasia coaster that a man designed?
A euthanasia coaster for putting drinks on.
No, like a roller coaster.
Oh,
And I'm sorry, but you're going to have one more photo in this
okay.
for this segment. But, okay, so I'll tell you. So this is this idea was drawn up a couple of years ago, but it's recently resurfaced. It's a design by a Lithuanian, I don't know what his profession is, entrepreneur called Julijonas Urbanas. Definitely butchered that. But he's designed a roller coaster that serves as a euthanasia device.
Okay. This is not a practical thing. This is a conceptual thing.
This is a conceptual thing, but it's actually won a few prizes, which is why it's resurfaced. So, he's built it as a hypothetic death machine in the form of a roller coaster, engineered to humanely, with elegance and euphoria, take the life of a human being.
Okay.
Intrigued?
I mean, nicer than a firing squad.
Nicer than a firing squad. Yes, correct. All right. So he's written there's a few quotes here attributed to this, which kind of explains. Let me just scan this here. Okay. So here are a few details here. The roller coaster is it's got a very steep vertical climb, and then a very steep drop off, and then circles that go. I want to say concentric. Is it?
They're sort of
different?
They're not concentric because that implies they're all within the same loop.
Right.
But they are of diminishing radius.
Loopiness.
They're growing short, smaller loop-de-loops and tighter loop-de-loops as the path continues.
Yes. And so it starts at the slow ascent to the top is 510 meters, which is just smaller than the Empire State Building.
Yeah, that's quite a big run.
So it's designed to kind of send you into like whatever, what's it called? It's not 5G, is it? Gravitation. When you get the gravitational
like one
thing.
It's not 5G. What? Zero
G-force.
G-force?
Zero G.
Zero G.
Zero G is
Zero G is when you're floating.
Yeah.
Like free fall.
G-force.
Free fall. Yeah.
Yep. And then the circles basically cause your blood to rush to your extremities, to your toes and your hands, thereby taking all the blood away from your brain and essentially killing you. But you go into a hypoxic state.
Yeah.
Which is something that you can do on an airplane, hypothetically. But I've just got a couple of quotes here from...
And that's meant to be a pleasurable sensation? The hypoxia is a pleasurable way to go?
Well, it says here elegance and euphoria.
But is the euphoria just like, oh, I'm on a roller coaster?
Yeah, I guess so. Like maybe there's some kind of chemical effect that happened to your brain But yeah. So he's just got some funny quotes here. So you're actually meant to. So when you climb up to the top, it gets you up there, and then the design makes it so that you have to actually manually press a button at the top, so you can back out at that point. So some quotes here from Julie Jonas. Julie Jonas. I imagine him speaking like kind of Werner Herzog.
Werner.
I'll just do it in a
Werner
kind of
Herzog.
vaguely German. Once they're at the top, it gives everyone the decision to stop and go back down so safely. After that, everyone has to manually press a button to start the ride. Then it falls at a speed of 223 miles per hour and goes through 7 loops that keep getting smaller. And it says here that the rider is subjected to a series of intensive motion elements that induce various unique experiences, from euphoria to thrill, and from tunnel vision to loss of consciousness, and eventually death. So you basically.
So it does sound like the loop-de-loops are actually the thing that triggers the euphoria. Like that process is pleasurable, which is interesting concept.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like craziness, but he's won a couple of awards for this. He won an art prize.
Yeah.
Which is why this has come back up. But I think, you'd think he's won the public prize for new technological art of update.
Wow.
Well, got a ring to it, that one.
The interesting thing, which I can't remember if we talked about much when it came out, but assisted dying, like euthanasia over here, was passed at the last election. The referendum passed, and so New Zealand will be implementing some form of euthanasia in the coming year or two.
That you can go to a doctor and actually. Do you know what the criteria is?
Yeah, I do. I don't have it at hand, but I can Google if you would like. The interesting one where there are 2 referenda on the ballots at the last election. One was for legalization of weed, and weed failed, but euthanasia passed, which was sort of backwards to what I expected.
Yeah, that's weird. Is weed big in New Zealand?
It is. Maybe that's why they assumed it wasn't going to really make a huge difference. I voted for it, but I think that it was very close. It was like 49%. So give it a few years, and I think it'll probably pass. So
is New Zealand a progressive country?
On a global scale, yeah, it's pretty progressive. They had gay marriage early and that sort of thing. 65% of voters said yes to passing the End of Life Choice Act in New Zealand, which is 2/3 of the country supported euthanasia. So to request assisted dying, you need to be 18 years or over, be a New Zealand citizen or permanent resident, have an illness that's likely to end your life within 6 months, be in an advanced state of irreversible decline in physical health, have unbearable suffering that can't be relieved in a way that you find tolerable, and be able to make an informed decision about assisted dying. You can't be considered if you have a mental disorder or illness of any kind, including dementia, or are elderly but otherwise in good health. People with a disability are also excluded unless they meet the 6 criteria above. You can't choose assisted dying in advance, like if you're in the early stages of mental decline, and no one can choose it on your behalf. This includes anyone who holds your enduring power of attorney. So it is, the request has to come from you to a doctor, and a doctor cannot initiate a discussion or suggest it as an option. And your doctor can refuse for conscientious grounds, but they'll put you in touch with a different group who can set up under the Act and can maintain a list of doctors who will do it. So there are a lot of legislative safeguards there to make sure that it can't be abused. Obviously, there'll be some people who may want it but don't fit that criteria, but they won't have access to it. So it'll be very interesting to see how it's how it rolls out and what the what kind of doctors emerge to facilitate that kind of thing and everything. Yeah.
I mean, you'd want, the fact that you can't ask for it in advance. Like if you were at the early stages of, let's say, dementia, you can't voluntarily euthanize yourself in the stage of dementia, and you can't do it before dementia. So like that's why I would want to do it.
Yeah. Yep. That's the law as it currently stands, and maybe a decade in, after the situation is understood better and the implications are there and the bodies and organizations and everything have been established and the medical providers have had time to live with it, they might re-examine those policies and adjust it going forward. But as it stands out, as it rolls out, that will be the current model, which I think is fairly good in terms of alleviating people's concerns that you could pressure your gran into, suicide if she doesn't want it, or euthanasia, I should say.
It's not as easy as it sounds, guys.
Yeah. But yeah, very interesting to think that we'll be living in a country where assisted dying is legal, but weed is not.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll get this roller coaster, this Lithuanian character.
Yeah. Did you have any more of those quotes? I was enjoying the Werner Herzog.
Oh yeah, I got a few more if you want.
Yeah.
I did actually practice before.
Yeah, good.
Okay. more at request.
I'll be here all night.
More from Julie Jonas. You most probably... Let me take that again. I fucked up the probably. You most probably... you are already unconscious as this force rushes to the blood.
Try again.
Okay, I'll take it again. All right, let me just take that again.
Yeah. You're getting in your head a little bit, so don't think about it.
I am.
Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Just be it. Shit. Who are you?
Oh, this is the best quote.
Too slow. Who are you?
I'm Werner.
Okay, well, you're not. Werner. You're not. You're Julie Jonas.
Julie Jonas.
Okay, God, this is worse than I thought.
No, Nick. Please, shush. Let me tell you. In other words, your body spins around your heart while you fall. Gravitational choreography. Most probably you are already unconscious as this force rushes the blood to the lower extremities of the body, thereby causing oxygen deficiency in the brain. It is exactly this cerebral suffocation, also known as cerebral hypoxia, that is going to kill you. The rest of the ride proceeds with your body being absorbed